currently 1 month into a yearly challenge that I created called the 365 plan. This plan consists of 12 30-ish day challenges that are inspired by different healthy habits that will either help me improve my life, help me cope better, make me happier, or will just help me figure out myself. Hello beautiful people of the internet, my name is Jade and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I post a lot of lifestyle content as well as some self-help stuff, so if you're into any of that, do be sure to click the subscribe button down below. But let's get into the bulk of the video. So I decided that my first challenge of the 365 plan would be journaling. This is something I've wanted to implement on a daily basis for such a long time, but I can never get to a point to where I could keep it up consistently. Truly, my goal of this challenge, the journaling part, as well as how I think I'm gonna approach all future challenges of this plan, is that I'm not really aiming to hit a specific metric. So I wasn't sitting here like I'm gonna journal a whole page a day, I'm gonna journal for 10 minutes a day, anything like that. I just want to show up every day to just actually put pen to paper every single day and see what happens. And if I missed a day, it really wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't ideally the plan, and I didn't want to use that as an excuse to not put in full effort. However, I do want to set that as my focus for the 30 days and see what comes out of it. Honestly, basically the main goal here was to just form that habit, because once I formed the habit and I knew it was something I could keep up consistently, then I wanted to see if that was something that I needed to keep in my life or if it was something that I should just let go of. If I ended up not loving it, cool, then I really don't have to worry about it anymore. But if I do love it, then I know that I have this healthy habit, this like healthier coping mechanism, like something that I can use as a tool to assist me in my life to make me happier overall. And I will say, out of the entire 32 days that I did this far, because I technically had to do 32 days, not 30, since I'm going from each 4th day of the month to the following 4th day of the month, and October 4th to November 4th is actually 32 days. I did actually miss 2 days total, so technically I still did 30 days, just not completely in succession. But one of the days I actually missed because I was with my boyfriend's family, and I did have a reminder on my phone every night to make sure that I was doing it, but I actually didn't even like really see the reminder because I was just being present in the moment. And I feel like that's a pretty good excuse, because I don't really want it to necessarily take away from me doing things that are like really important to me, and that was really important to me. And I also missed a day where I honestly, like, I was so dead inside, I had no hope for anything, so I just kind of like crashed out and didn't really accomplish anything towards my goals except just do my very half-assed run. So yes, am I like a little bit bitter, a little bit annoyed with myself for missing those days? Yes, I am. However, it did teach me that I'm not doing this challenge to be incredibly harsh on myself. I'm actually just doing it to put in the most amount of effort that I can manage each singular day. And each day is going to look a little bit different. Up until this point with the daily journaling 30-day challenge ordeal, I actually was starting to journal a lot more, probably like 2 to 4 times a week, depending on what kind of week I was having. I had noticed that it was really helping when I was starting to get super stressed out, or maybe just felt like I had too many things on my plate and I couldn't keep track of all of it. So at that point, I actually wasn't intimidated by doing the journaling daily. I thought it was gonna be super helpful, and I was really excited about it. I will say though that the journey was actually a lot more complex, and I actually ended up learning a lot more about myself than I thought I would in the process. So first, let's talk about the consistency element of it. So obviously I needed to show up in one way or another for 32 days straight. So what was that actually like? Like, even though I missed a couple of days, there was still kind of like that weight, that pressure of like doing the challenge and like being on this plan or whatever, where I felt like I had to do it. And I did have that sense of like pressure to actually do it on the days that I did as well. And I did learn that when I am writing every day, in every situation, when I'm stressed, when I'm anxious, when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm really motivated, really focused, really high energy, or really down, really low energy, kind of like just wanting to rot and do nothing with my day, under those circumstances, it does feel a little forced for some of the entries. And sometimes when I was doing them, I was like, this may or may not be really essential for my like personal growth and development, versus when I was journaling like 2 to 4 times a week. I always felt like when I was doing those journals, that was something that I really needed at the time, and they were all really essential for either that moment or for my general happiness and my general vibe, if that makes any sense. And when I went to do the challenge, I really thought that preventative maintenance might be the best thing for me because I was only doing it 2 to 4 times a week when it got to this really like stressed out, overwhelmed point. So I was like, maybe if I do it every day, then I won't get to the point to where I need to do it. And I thought it would stop me from just generally going into like crisis mode, but I did have to test that theory to actually get proof on if I was right about that or not. And I actually didn't notice the frequency of me needing to journal increasing or decreasing in any sense. I still needed to journal the same amount. I still felt like I was kind of going into that more so crisis mode the same amount of times, and I felt like I had a few entries where it was like, I need this right now, whereas those few days in between still kind of felt like I wasn't really needing to do those, like it wasn't really helping me in any kind of way. So forced entries don't really seem to work well for me. On really high energy days where I'm super motivated, I tend to just want to take action. I never really sit there and want to write down all the things I want to accomplish or how I'm feeling. On low energy days, I just tend to want to write as little as possible because even the energy of picking up the pen and physically writing stuff just feels kind of exhausting at that point. And usually when I'm really down, I feel like the best thing for me is either like taking a nap or showering or playing some games, just getting a different form of relaxing and not really like ruminating in those thoughts too much. Sometimes I do recognize that journaling might make me feel a little bit better, but in that specific moment, if I don't feel like that's what I need and I do it anyways, I end up holding like a little bit of resentment for it, and I can't really focus up or take it as seriously as I would want to. I also had multiple days where I just genuinely did not know what to write. Before all of this, I was using my journal as a brain dump. It was really the only way to get my thoughts out on a paper when I felt like my mind was too scrambled and couldn't hold all of it in at one time. I also use that as a place to observe my overall thoughts about my life and do my life audit, which I do have a whole video on if you're curious about it and don't know what I'm talking about. So those kind of journals did help me see what I need to improve upon. But on the day-to-day basis, I feel like these things weren't really changing much, and if I continuously kept writing about the same topic every single day, the thoughts kind of blurred together and I didn't really see those patterns become as clear because I didn't really know where they were switching up. You would think you would be able to see the patterns more clearly if you observed it every 24 hours, but for me it just ended up kind of making it look like one jumbled thought pattern. But this brings me to the topics that I would be using when I was doing these journals. Like, did I have a prompt? Did I just free write? What the fuck was I doing? Well, as I said, prior to this challenge, I was just mostly using my journal for a brain dump and some life audits. I tried to keep that same general theme by just brain dumping whatever would come up and whatever was even mildly bothering me at the time, and also anything that I wanted to improve upon or whatever I was noticing about myself. And like I also said, at times it kind of felt a little bit directionless, and like writing about it wasn't really gonna help anything that I was writing about. It was just almost ranting, and I didn't always need to rant. But over time, I could see what I was writing was following a general pattern. And no, I'm not talking about thought patterns for my life. Like I said, I couldn't identify a few seconds ago. I'm talking about patterns in how I wrote. I could literally see how my brain thought about issues and how I wrote them down and tried to work through them. I learned I have a few different modes of journaling. I have a vent mode, usually when I'm highly anxious or highly stressed. This is when I brain dump anything and anything as a stream of consciousness. I have a check-in mode where I do things like life audits and when I just analyze different parts of my life. I tend to do this a lot with my relationship or my self-image, just so that I can make sure that my thoughts aren't derailing, or if I'm having any negative reoccurring thoughts, or if there's maybe anything that I'm holding in and not addressing that I probably should be addressing. I also have a planning mode. This is when I would write out checklists or goals for the future. And lastly, I have an affirmation mode where I write out just different affirmations and manifestation, things that I want to accomplish, but more so in the sense of I'm like, I am this, I have this, I'm doing good enough, I'm strong, I'm kind, I'm beautiful, all of these different things. I thought this was all really interesting because I've had the thought to do multiple journals for a long time now. I actually bought 2 different ones a few years back. It was supposed to be a sun journal and a moon journal, which literally was like an orange one with a sun on it and a black one with a moon on it. The plan was to use the sun journal for all my affirmations, all my manifestations, all of my my goal setting and just like dream journaling, like everything that I wanted to accomplish. Whereas when I did have negative thoughts and negative self-perception or wanted to vent about anything, that's when I would pull out the moon journal. That was basically for like my shadow work and, like I said, all just the negativity, because I was really fixated on the idea that I need to keep my bad parts away from my good parts. But I realized that's not the case at all. I'm not able to keep my emotions and my thoughts separated to that extent. However, having maybe like themes is actually something that's pretty good for me. I do like having this general journal that's just kind of for anything. If I want to brain dump, if I want to write about a specific event that happened, but I just want to like make it really messy and just write whatever, that's good for me to have that, because I need an area where I'm not trying to put myself in any kind of box. But right at the end of the journaling challenge, I actually got a separate journal just for writing about my dreams, where I will do a weekly prompt, basically where have I been, what have I learned, where am I at right now, and what do I want to accomplish in the future. And I do this every single Monday just to make sure that I'm staying on track with my goals and my dream self. I also got a therapy journal that I'm using specifically for therapy. So I'm writing down like my whole entire trigger list in general. I'm also going to write out my trigger list for specific situations, like any type of commitment or like any type of situation, like a social situation maybe that might stress me out, like going to a party, like what are the triggers about that and what are my solutions for those triggers. And so far, both of those other journals have been incredibly helpful for me, just so that I can have this a designated space to analyze the specific parts of my life and to stay focused on the specific goals. I also like, at least for the dream journal, to do the weekly prompt, because I don't feel like weekly is too much for me at all. But I like that I have this generalized anything journal kind of to be messy and whatever I want it to be, so that if I do have those moments where I need to journal, I have that. But also, if I kind of just like let that habit fall off a little bit, I know that I have that weekly journal to just keep me on track and keep me focused. And that's really all I need. Journaling as a whole has taught me so much about myself, and I think it's been a really good habit for me. After like rejecting it for so long and thinking it wasn't worth anything, I figured out that I just wasn't really doing it in a way that was best for me, and through doing it, I actually learned how to do it in a way that I would be happy. And it's really weird, because you have to do it a lot to figure out if you like doing it a lot or if you don't like doing it. If you don't do it, then you're not going to figure out if you like doing it. So I think it's safe to say that this is definitely a habit that I am going to keep. I would like to say for the rest of my life, but obviously there might come a point where all of my opinions about myself change, all of the things that I liked before change. But through this challenge, I'm trying to find things that I either carry with me or let go of, and I would say this is definitely I want to carry with me for sure. I love it. I think that it's been great. Definitely going to implement the weekly dream journal sessions on Mondays. I'm going to keep my therapy journal for when I start going to therapy, or even if I'm not going to therapy, just to work on myself and to know what my problem areas are. And I'm always going to have the journal that I did this whole entire challenge with, that is just whatever I want it to be, just in case. I keep it with me all the time, because honestly, writing stuff down just feels a little bit better sometimes. So if you guys are thinking about journaling, thinking about doing a 30-day challenge, thinking of doing a journaling 30-day challenge, anything like that, I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. There's going to be some challenges in this that I reject because they're not for me, and I definitely expect some of these things that I recommend to not be for you guys either. But I did just want to make a video talking about, you know, my thoughts for everything, how things went, if I was like 100% successful, and what I learned, you know, everything. So sorry for the lighting changes. Also sorry if this one's shorter. I didn't have like too much to say, and it gets dark at like 5 p.m. now due to daylight savings. And I will be making a video on how to survive seasonal depression, because that's something that I would definitely need, and I'm probably actually gonna need that video a little bit for myself this year. But anyways, enough yapping. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you're feeling generous, you could even subscribe. If you did watch up to this point, put the little writing on paper emoji down in the comments below. I do hope to see you guys all in the next video, but if not, bye bye.